Okay, great. Welcome back to WheelchairDNA Travel 101, where I am forced against my will to sit on this couch that I bought because of it looks good. That's going to be great for the captions. Me saying because of it looks good. I got my brother back there, so we're doing it live, and I've never sat on this couch this much because it's uncomfortable. And now I am. And it's still uncomfortable. Maybe in the next video I'll be sitting on this pillow. So, without any further delays, let's get into this big one today. Flight booking, in parentheses. When it comes to booking the flight, this is the most important thing. And I actually say that about everything, because everything I talk about is very important. The last video we talked about hotels, and I realize now I should have talked about flights first, because unless you put your milk and then your cereal into the bowl, then you're probably going to be booking your flight first and then your hotel after. Direct flights are best. I will pay almost any amount to avoid having a layover. Especially with the wheelchair. Any layover essentially is adding a flight. It adds a flight. So instead of just getting on the airplane and getting off the airplane and then you're done, you get on an airplane, off an airplane, on an airplane, off an airplane. Every time you get on an airplane and your chair goes underneath or whatever happens, you're at risk of something bad happening, such as the wheelchair getting damaged or having a delay. You want to have direct flights. If you can, it's the best. If you need to have a layover, this is now what we're talking about next. You most likely will want to buy the same airline all the way through. If you have layovers, just look at one airline that takes you the whole way. So when you are going to, for example, delta.com, and you search from Los Angeles to Istanbul, okay? You probably have a layover in New York or England or Amsterdam or Frankfurt, something like that. You're most likely going to have a layover. When you book it through the same airline, it then becomes their responsibility to get you from the first flight to the second flight. There are some guidelines. These are not laws, but in the United States of America, there are some guidelines for people with disabilities should not have a layover less than 90 minutes. So 1 hour, 30 minutes is the minimum time advised for a layover for people with a disability. And that's for good reason, because you get off last. And then not only do you get off last, but you still have to put the wheelchair together. And you have to have the people help carry you out. And then you have to get to where you're going next. When you book a flight, try to book it with the airline, the same airline all the way through. Because then if the first flight is delayed, your ticket is to get to where you're going. So it becomes their, I guess, prerogative to help you achieve your end destination. There is one caveat. When my brother and I were flying to Taiwan, it was about $2,300 per ticket to go from Denver to Taipei. It became $800 per ticket if we bought the flights separate, because Denver, you always have a layover in Seattle or Los Angeles. And then from there you fly directly to Taipei. What I did was I found more affordable flights from Seattle to go to Taipei. And then I found more affordable flights round trip to go from Denver to Seattle. And the added benefit to this was that the flights that I was looking at with the same airline taking me from Denver to Taipei, they had really small layovers. Whereas when I booked my own flight separate, I made us with about a 6-hour layover. A little bit too long, actually, especially on the way back. We actually bought a different flight because we had, I think, an 11-hour layover or something ridiculous. So pros and cons. But the point is, we saved a lot of money and the layover time was still feasible to allow for possible delays and so on. Okay, next thing about booking a flight. Once you get the dates and times all set, once you know the airline that you're going to be going with, and you figure all of that out, you have good layover time. When you're buying the ticket, you have to put in somewhere that you have the disability, that you need help. There are generally 2 places this will be, and I can't imagine a third place. Literally, I cannot imagine. When you're booking the ticket and after you book the ticket. Those are really the only 2 things that can exist. The before and after of booking the ticket, or the during and after. When you are booking the ticket, some airlines will have right in there passenger info, name, email, thing, whatever, other thing. And then at some point, it'll say special requests or disability services, something along those lines, and there's usually a little wheelchair icon. When you go into that, you can select from many different options about what you need. Some people don't actually need help to get onto the airplane, but if you're older and you struggle to walk long distances, you can get wheelchair service. You can have someone help push you around through the airport just to get to your airplane, and then you can get down there and then walk onto the plane yourself. Others, such as myself, well, I can't walk at all, but I don't need help finding the airplane. I can get there, but once I need to walk onto the airplane, I can't. So I need someone to help me get to my seat. And so there's different options. You can read those. There are also some for those who are blind, deaf, and other disabilities that would require assistance. If you don't find it when you're booking the ticket, most likely you can find it after. You go to whatever it is to manage your reservation. You can find your little profile where it says your name and all your information. Just keep scrolling down, keep trying to find it. If you can't find it, there are 2 ways, kind of. There's really one way to figure it out, which is you contact. You contact the airline. How do you contact the airline? You can either find their phone number or email, or a little contact us bubble where you talk to them live, or you can search online the airline and then disability services phone number. And that will get you the direct phone number for the disability services themselves, instead of having to call and wait for the right person to talk to. After you book your ticket and you tell them you have accessible needs, you're going to try to get bulkhead seats. This is more specific to those who are in a wheelchair, can't walk, and at risk for pressure sores. When you're at risk for pressure sores, what that really is you sit down too long in one very uncomfortable position, and you will get a bruise, and that bruise can kind of evolve into a bigger injury, and it's really bad. So how do you alleviate the risk of pressure sores when you're on an airplane where you can't stand because you can't walk, and you know what I mean? And you're stuck in this seat? Well, bulkhead seats. This is what it's called, and I just found this out a couple flights ago, and it's great. Mostly you'll find it in the larger airplanes. When you're in a smaller airplane, they don't really have these. But when you're also in a smaller airplane, those are typically shorter length flights. So not as bad or as at risk for pressure sores because you're not sitting down as long. The longer flights, the 10-hour, 15-hour flights, those are the big airplanes. They have bulkhead seats. You're going to ask for this. If you can choose your ticket for free, then you do it. By now, I should have had a big picture over my face about what the bulkhead seat is. If you can't get it, and if you don't want to pay for it, you can message the disability service again, tell them that this is for a disability and these seats help you prevent pressure sores, and hope that they give it to you for free. I'm not necessarily talking about using the disability to the advantage of getting a free seat upgrade. These seats are really not in the best place. They're right next to the bathroom, which can be gross. A lot of people try to walk in that space in front of you. So you have people walking all around you all the time. So this isn't trying to get one over on the airlines. That's not what this is. But I do believe that if you can get it for free, why not? Worth a shot, because it is actually for a disability related thing. And then what you're going to do is get off the seat, use that space in front of you to squat down on your feet, get some pressure off your butt, stretch your calves a little bit, get some load bearing on your legs. It's a win-win. And I've even fallen asleep a little bit. So if you can hold the squat and balance pretty well, then you're good to go. There are some things you should be aware of though, because there's just a big wall in front of you, that behind that wall is a bathroom. There's no storage space for your backpack. So your backpack and all your bags go up over on top in the overhead storage, which means then if you have a lot of medical supplies that you need access to, and if you're flying alone, just tell the flight attendant that you will need some assistance because you have stuff in your bag and so on. So just be aware that you can have a little bag with you, but your big bag is going to have to go up above. 2 more things, and then 2 more things after that, which are not really things. One of the last 2 things is that you can try to search the type of airplane that it is and try to find the closet size. When you're flying in an airplane, you gate check the wheelchair, which means it goes in the understorage and then it comes right back out at the gate right when you get off the airplane so you can get back in it. It's at risk of getting damaged. When wheelchairs get damaged flying, this is how. Because they go underneath and get bumped around. I haven't had it happen to me. We'll talk about this in another video, but the important thing about this is that there's another option, and you should always try to see if this other option works, which is put your wheelchair in the medical equipment closet, or it's called the cabin crew closet. There's a couple names for it, but when you get to, this is not really booking, by the way, but it's kind of related. When you get to the flight, you talk to the gate agent, you talk to anybody you can at the airport, and everybody you can, anybody and everybody you can who works there for the airline, and tell them that you want to put your wheelchair in the cabin crew closet. It's very safe in there, very safe. It's on board, it's kind of right there, kind of near the areas where they have all the food and all of that, and they fit it in there. You can try to check online the dimensions of this closet. The problem is, airlines will purchase an airplane. One of the airplanes that I'm familiar with is the Delta Airbus 220-something. I'll put a picture on my face. I know for a fact that my wheelchair fits into that airplane, but it is also specifically a Delta airplane. Another Airbus 220 might have a different size closet because each airline, they purchase the airplane, but then they also have another company put all of the stuff inside with its colors and all of the Delta style. In the United States of America, and I'm not familiar with other countries, but in the United States of America, there is actually a regulation for the minimum size of a closet, which will be right over my face, in inches. So try to convert it if you need it. That's the size that you can rely on as a minimum. But I've ran into a couple flights where in America, the wheelchair doesn't fit in the closet. But you should check. You should definitely check. Okay, I feel like I talked way too long about that. It's a small detail, But these are the things that are very important to know. And we will come back to the closet thing again when we talk about the flight and then in parentheses, getting on. Back to the flight in parentheses booking type of stuff. And this is the last thing. Read the airline travel rules before you travel. And if you need to, contact a customer agent and get confirmation that you are allowed to travel alone. And that should be obvious. This is something you only need to do if you're traveling alone. One time, I got stuck because they would not let me fly because I was flying alone and I did not meet their solo traveler requirements. I'll talk about this. Yeah, dude, it happened. I'll talk about this in another video that's dedicated to the story. So, you can use AI, but I recommend just reading the website yourself. Read about this, I think it's called independent traveler requirements or just traveler requirements. Whatever it is, it's probably different per airline. Try to find that, try to read that. Make sure that you qualify to travel alone. Because the last thing you want to do is be stuck in an airport after buying the flight, thinking that you can go and then you can't. So make sure to read the rules and regulations for the airline. These are usually smaller airlines, not in America, because in the United States of America, there are a little bit better rules, I guess, for allowing people with disabilities to travel alone. But in other places in the world, it's maybe not so nice, or they're a little bit more strict. And it comes down to being a safety liability, which hurts to say a little bit, but that's the truth. So some people are a little bit more fearful, I suppose, just that you won't be able to take care of yourself in an emergency. I'm very opinionated about this, of course, and I'll talk about this more in another video. But that's the final bit of advice is before you travel, if you're traveling on some lesser known airlines, read up on their rules and regulations. Okay, and to recap, direct flights are best. Most of the time you want to buy the whole flight, including all the layovers and everything, with one airline. Buy the whole ticket, the whole itinerary with one airline. Always have 2 or 3+ hour layovers. Adding accessible needs to your airline ticket. You need to do this. Get bulkhead seats. Ask for them at every step of the way, because a lot of times the communication doesn't make it all the way through. So you have to ask here, ask here, ask here, and always double check and confirm, or until you actually see on your ticket that your seat is a bulkhead seat. Try to search the type of airplane and see if you can find out the closet size, and then measure your own wheelchair, write it down in your notes, have it to save for later, because if your wheelchair can fit in the closet, you want to know this, because then you want to do it. You can try anyway. If you can't find out, try anyway. Always try. And then last, read the airline travel rules for solo travel, because you might not meet the requirements required for solo travel. Worth looking into. 2 little things bonus. Expect some videos after this, or at some point in the near future, talking about how I almost was not allowed to travel solo. And another one, what to do if your wheelchair is damaged. And there's a few more fun little things that have happened. That's the end of the video. Steven, you want to pop in frame real quick? This guy has been pointing and laughing at me the whole time. It says special requests, or I knew that was coming. Laundry. Yeah, how long was that video?
21 minutes.
Really?